Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Homegrown Cooking with Dawn and Nicole. About a year ago, Dawn, you drove to my house kind of through the ice. Do you remember that?
I do. Yes, I do.
What were we gonna do last year? Do you remember what we set out to do?
We were going to cook all the cuts, all the things.
The goal last year was nose to tail cooking meat, Dawn and Nicole, homegrown cooking, and we did like 2 days of video at my house. And no, we did 1 day video at my house, one live recording, and then we got really busy and
Then life just happened.
yeah. So this year I proposed that we cook whatever the heck we want to cook.
I think that's great. Yes.
Yeah. And I proposed that we commit to once a month, which is 12 shows.
Got it. I think I can do it.
Yeah. And it will always be on a Friday, probably.
Yes. That's best for me too.
Yeah. And so today we're going to cook a cut of meat together, the same thing. We won't necessarily always do the same thing, but today we're going to cook a beef heart. You see that, guys? So I've got one here. But before we do that, we were having a chat before we went live. If you have questions, by the way, just put the word question in all caps. And if you're just joining us right now, let people know that we're live. I know I've been live a lot today, but it's like, this is like cooking with a friend, which is way more fun than cooking by yourself.
Very much. Yes.
So my goal this year, and the reason I'm doing a beef heart, which is what I suggested, I knew she had one in her freezer, first of all. And I'm looking to get through all the weird cuts of cow before first this year, rather than waiting till the end of the year and being like, I've got tongue, I've got tail, I've got liver, and I've got heart in my freezer, and that's what's left. Yeah, this is a whole heart. Boom, 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 boom. So that's why she's like, so let's go to the kidney discussion. So you've got kidney. How many kidneys you got?
I think I have like 3 packages of kidneys. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know where they came from. I don't know which cow. I don't know when they appeared, but I just opened the door and I'm like, oh, look, there's kidney.
So you were at the butcher and you're like, I want all the organs. And he's like, a kidney.
Ask and you shall receive is what I think.
Hairy balls. That's sorry, that was for my life.
I think I got those, but
yeah. So, Dawn said she doesn't know any good kidney recipes. Does anybody here have a good kidney recipe? I'm just curious. Write Y or N in the comments. Did you get to see the presentation by, what's the name of the butchers that came out to a Self-Reliance Festival? Something Farm. They're really awesome. Dang it, I can't remember their name. Do you remember them? Those 2 guys that came out and did the pig processing. Are you hearing me? I can't hear you. Dawn is having a tech meltdown right now. Right? Hand-hewn farm. I can't hear you at all. Dawn, go ahead, log out, log back in, and see if that fixes it. Because I think somehow it unenabled your microphone. I get them in smaller cuts. I usually have to take the outer layer off and cook it. So, oh, you get the heart in smaller cuts. Hey. Yeah. And so, hey, Alabama, tell me what your good kidney recipe is before I tell the hand-hewn story, because I think Dawn's going to have to log out and back in, and I want her to hear the hand-hewn story. I soak my kidneys in salt water for a day or so, and then I fry them in butter in small bits. Do you flash fry them so they don't get too tough, or how does that work for mouthfeel? And if you could describe the flavor, what is the flavor of the kidney? I'm really curious. Because I've actually only been given kidneys once, and what I did is I dehydrated them and turned them into dog treats and fed them to dogs. And the mistake was that I didn't cut the fat off, and so of course the meat dried, but the fat didn't. And so I just had to use them up immediately anyway, and it was dumb. But I learned about rendering kidney fat in an Excalibur and how easy that is to clean up. So, yeah. Can I hear you now?
Yes, I couldn't hear you at all.
Yeah. We couldn't hear you either. And so I assumed you. So, Hey Alabama soaks his kidneys in water and then salt water for a day and then fries them in butter in small bits. And at some point may post how they taste. So when Hand Hewn Farm was out at Self-Reliance Festival, what they said is that organ meat, like, are you out of audio again? Organ meat is, if you don't freeze it, so liver and kidney and those organs, and you butcher it fresh, tastes better than if you've frozen it once. So the liver doesn't taste as metallic, for example, if you haven't frozen the liver before you cook it. And then Nighthawk is in my living room starting my fire for me today, which is I'm very thankful for. He soaks his in milk to deal with the metallic flavor. Dawn, are you having audio problems again? I think she is. Yeah. I think what has happened is her tripod is undercharged, so she may have to take her phone off the tripod and put it on something else. So, Hey Alabama says they aren't that tasty really. I eat a few bites, dogs get some of it raw. They also come in smaller packs. I tried steak and kidney soup or something like that and it was horrible. So Hey Alabama, I'm wondering if by not letting them freeze first, which means you have to beat the butcher. Like, here's what happens with organs at the butcher. They off the animal basically, and then they take all the organs out and they hang them, right? And they skin them. So the organs are taken out the day you bring your animal to the butcher or to the processor. I'm pretty sure if you said just put them in bags, because they're putting them in bags that day and then freezing them, and then they give them to you with your whole animal. If you wait around, I bet you can get it before they flash freeze them, and just take them home and try it. But then you want to cook them that day, right? So, yeah. I think I might not know what I'm doing. None of us do. But Hand Hewn Farm, what they've done, what's cool about their journey is they started by butchering their own pigs, and then they were like, we want to use all of the pig, and there aren't clear instructions on how to use the pig. And then they ended up starting to do research from, like Europe and other places on how to use some of these parts. And they figured out over time that if you eat the organs before freezing them, they taste better. And they came up with what they call a good kidney recipe. I haven't tried it, but I can tell you that their cured meats they made from the pig they processed before the Self-Reliance Festival has been pretty darn tasty. In fact, I have some bacon still in the freezer that hasn't been finished from that needs to be finished. So the way to get meat from the butcher not frozen is the day they cut it, pick it up in your vehicle with a fridge that's running. And then they haven't frozen it yet. Their freezer will freeze it faster than your freezer, and the packages will bleed all over your freezer or your fridge if you're transporting it that way. But that is the way that it happens. One time I got my chickens processed because it was a hard year. So I paid to have chickens processed, and I went to pick them up. And they were like, you got to get here now. We don't have freezer space. And they were literally, they were not frozen yet. And that was the year I forgot the rule about chickens, which is you don't freeze them right away. You let them rest for a day, and then you freeze them. And so they go through rigor mortis where their muscles like tighten up and then they loosen up, and then they're not as tough. And I froze those buggers, and then those were all stew birds. Those were the ones that were all stew birds. You're ringing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, today we're going to cook a beef heart, but we're also hoping Dawn will hop back on soon. And I assume what has happened now is Dawn has decided she's using a different camera. So she's probably running to the cannery, getting something else. Can she hear us? Dawn, we were literally talking for a whole half hour before we went live, and there were no problems. Dawn, can we hear you? There is no Dawn. I think it's the tripod. Hey, Nighthawk, can you bring me my phone and I will send Dawn a text?
Where's it at? It's on that.
It's on the charger over there. So I'm going to suggest that she take her phone off of that tripod if she hasn't already. Because I think it's the tripod and the app interacting with StreamYard now. StreamYard already doesn't work terribly good with the phone. So maybe take it off the tripod. I think we used like a totally different tripod for her last time we did this. So this is like proof that your tech check is great, but then when you go live, tech things can happen anyway. And if they're going to happen, they're going to happen live. So I am going to dive into starting to cook the heart while Dawn works on her tech stuff. Oh, she's in private chat now here. I've lost all sound. I did. Okay. Do you have a laptop you can use, Dawn? Because it could be that the browser on your phone. Is your phone in silent, first of all? If you get a notification on your phone, it may be busting your audio out if you're using StreamYard on a cell phone. That's why I don't usually use StreamYard on cell phones. That's one, or two, like pop up a laptop. But what I'm going to do, guys, is start the actual show. And then we'll do our best to catch up with each other because she's all ready to go. Like I saw what she has in store for us, and it's pretty cool. But this is a heart. So this is what comes from the butcher. Oh, we can hear you now.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
What happened?
I honestly don't know. When I got a Facebook phone call,
Yep.
it took me out, and then it wouldn't let me back in.
Yeah, put your phone in silent. If you get a phone call and you're on StreamYard, it will kick you out. And it's
Now
like you have to redo everything.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I think we're ready.
So cool. Okay, so today we're going to do the heart. And Dawn just guessed what I had done to be ready for this, which is kind of funny because we didn't talk at all today.
We did not. Yes, exactly.
She like hopped on my live Homestead happenings, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't set up that." I was sitting down to do all of that stuff when there was the birth next door, and right now my phone's on silent, so if there's something going on at the pasture, Nighthawk's going to interrupt me because his phone is not on silent. But I was like, and then I'm going to have all these phone calls in the middle. So this is the heart, and if you look at the front of it, it's got holes. That's for the different chambers in there, and there's some fat on it. What I do is I trim off the fat on the outside, and then I cut it into small strips. That's what I like to do, and it's something that when you think about what a heart is, it's very lean meat. Like it's the one organ that doesn't have a weird organ flavor, in my opinion. Because like to me, I don't like liver. I haven't tasted kidney, but I'm willing to taste it. I don't really like it. Like I don't hate it so much I can't eat it. Like I can eat it, but I don't like to eat it. It's that. And it has a flavor that I associate with organs. A heart just doesn't have very much fat, but this outer part is really tough. So what I do is I trim it off first with a different knife than that. And I will go get my different knife because that was about the dullest experience I've had in years. Where is Patrick Rohrman when I need him?
Right.
So
nice.
Yeah, so then I just kind of trim that outer layer off. I'm shaving it so that it's not tough. Sometimes they will come pre-trimmed, but rarely, and certainly not from the butchers we're using. Did you do it this way?
I did, and mine had some. Is yours got the membrane on it?
Yeah, it's got that silver skin on it.
Yeah.
I wonder, I've told you that I've tried going low and slow with heart, which you're supposed to be able to do by stuffing the chambers. I haven't had luck with that yet, so I need to do more research on that and figure out what it is.
I wonder if you could sous vide it. and do that. And then like sous vide it with the stuffing in it and then just sear it
Yeah.
once you get it out.
Yeah, I'm sure that would help. And then the other thing is, but they didn't have sous vides back, 100 years ago.
Yeah, true.
So the famous story in my family was that in the Depression, when my grandma was growing up, one Christmas they hadn't had meat for a long time. And the farmer next door or down the road, I don't know, he processed a pig and gave my great grandfather the heart, and my great grandmother stuffed it and served it for Christmas dinner. And my grandma just remembers that heart is like some of the best food she's ever had. And part of that was that they hadn't had meat in a while, but it was a sign they were going to make it because they were so close to the line sometimes. Like they would grow extensive gardens and process everything, of course. And the potatoes that would grow, they weren't allowed to harvest until they were ripe. But there was one potato plant that would be designated where they could get the new potatoes. Like that's how close to the edge they were that they couldn't afford to, like, because I don't care when I process potatoes. If I'm going to process this, I grab them. It's like if I want one, I'll grab it, and if it's a baby potato, that's fine.
Right.
So then you end up with this pile of what makes really good dog treats, but if you give them all the dog treats at once, it's a problem. It can be a diarrhea problem. Speaking of dogs.
They're in the bedroom. And I was trying to put them in there so it would be muffled, but yeah.
Yeah. So
anytime someone comes up to get their milk down there, they're going to bark.
That's fine. So then the way I cut them, what did you do, Dawn? I usually just follow the line here.
I cut mine every which way.
Okay, so
I started trying to make it all pretty down the line, and then I ended up just.
It's almost like a spiral at first here.
I have some longs. I have some shorts.
Yeah. And then this piece cuts off, right? So that's one chamber. And then this, I'm just going to cut in half and open it up. And then inside the heart, you have these little connective tissue things too. So also in here, I shave. And this is where it's like, you see how I have these beautiful two pieces, but now I need to, without cutting myself, get some of this. This stuff is really tough too, I think.
Yeah, it was really hard to get off, I thought.
Yeah, oh, wrong container. That's okay. So a sharp knife really helps a lot in this situation. And this is a knife from MT Knives that Patrick Gorman made. It's very hard to get a chef's knife from him because he doesn't just sell those at this point. Right. It's a custom knife. But when he was doing them as his, he has like his, what are they called? Founders or whatever that get to buy a knife like this every so often with their original support from him. With the year he was doing that, I'm like, I really want a chef's knife. This one had a small flaw in the woodworking, and so he couldn't sell it to them. So he sold it to me. Since that time, he's made an actual chef's knife for my mom. He's done one for Chef Brett. You probably could talk him into it if you wanted. But it's always good to be cutting towards yourself like that. Okay. There we go. Now, so if you look here, I don't know if you can see, but we're going to hold it up. The grain, I'm trying not to get it on my computer too. So the grain of the meat is going this way. So what I'm going to do is cut this way. So it's the short grains, not the long grains. And the reason I'm doing that is very lean meat can get tough. And one way to help make it more tender is to not have long grains. You want short little grains. Okay, there we go.
I'm looking at mine. I'm not sure which way I cut with mine.
You'll be fine even if you cut it the other way.
You going with the grain or against the grain?
Against the grain, 90 degrees to the grain. So now I've got these really nice strips. And if Dawn had not admitted to her family that she was doing heart today, they'd probably not realize it wasn't steak if if she served it
Yeah.
on
My
that.
boys will eat it just fine.
This one also has that inside lining that needs to come off. So, and this little nubby piece, I just sacrifice it to the. So this one's a much thinner piece of meat for this chamber. And that was sort of that outer chamber.
Right.
And I just do my best. If I had my fillet knife here, which would have been like really good forethought before we went live, it would be easier to do this with a fillet knife. Just for the record. But I'm not going to.
I've got a good fillet knife too.
Yeah, it's actually easier to do that with a shorter knife than what I'm doing. But every chef who's watching this can be in agony while I do this. That's fine. So then this, which way is the grain going? Oh, there's a little bit of silver skin on that backside still. There's one spot I missed. Come on, get off there. Okay. So this one, the grain's going this way. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit wider strips because this is a lot thinner than that. So from here, what I'm going to do is put spices and salt. I'm going to actually take my gloves off and wash my hands and do a marinade. And then when dinner time comes, I'm going to flash cook them. But I believe what happens after I get the marinade done is Dawn takes over the show. Is that correct, Dawn?
I will be glad to do that.
Okay, so this
Mine has been marinating for about an hour and a half.
That's perfect. And I plan to cook at 6, so that'll be perfect. Incidentally, what I have going on over at the stove over there's a cow's tongue in that pot simmering. And it simmers for 3 hours, and then I will sear it off and serve it in rounds after I peel it, which we've already done a show on that, so I didn't do it for this show. But today was like all of the odds and ends thing, right? So Stephen Renea did a stuffed deer heart like a stuffed turkey. Yeah, I would like to, hey, could you send me a link to that? Because I didn't have luck the first time I did that, but I actually have the heart from the cow I bought from Dawn that's still in my freezer, and I'm totally willing to try it. So that's also cool. So I'm going to guess that this is a pound of meat or a pound and a half of meat? What do I think? I'm going to go pound and a half, but I think I actually have a scale here. And the reason I'm doing this with a scale is I do about a teaspoon of salt per pound of meat when I cook, but I don't want to know how many grams it is. I don't want fluid ounces. Come on. Okay. I'm totally wrong. This is why we don't guess. It's a 3-pound thing. So I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of salt. And the reason I'm not doing 3 is that I am also going to use this mushroom-based soy sauce in there because Nicole is allergic to soy. And while I can do soy sauce because it's fermented, I can't always do it. So as you can see, I carefully measured how much of the soy sauce I put in. And then for the garlic, I'm going to do not that much, about a teaspoon. It's garlic powder from the store, but I made up for it by having homegrown dried rosemary that I put through my Vitamix, which still isn't powdery because rosemary is like a bunch of sticks, but I love rosemary. I'm actually going to move this out of my way without cutting myself. We're not cutting anymore, and then you can actually see the bowl somehow there. Okay. And then the last thing I'll do for me today is black pepper. What would also be good on this is smoked paprika. But if you're eating carnivore, for example, and only doing a couple of spices, pepper and salt is good enough. Salt is good enough. You'll taste more of the beef. And then garlic, if you usually do garlic. And then I'm stirring this up, right? And then I'm asking Tactical to hand me a vacuum freezer bag, please. And I'm going to put it in the bag and vacuum seal it so that pulls some of that marinade in, more of that marinade in, which you don't have to do. You just put it in the fridge like that, covered. And then you let it sit for a little while, but that just helps pull the marinade in. So that's what I do. And Dawn, without talking to me at all, basically did the same thing. So Dawn, when you're ready, why don't you tell us what you did to yours and what your marinade is, and then we'll you're going to be the primary while I get this in a bag and do all that stuff.
Sounds good. I've got my skillet heating up too. So my steak or my heart is not cut up quite as elegantly as Nicole's. I just kind of cut it any which way that I could. I did cut all the membrane off and shaved all the fat off and all that stuff. And then I marinated mine. It's been marinating for about an hour and a half in olive oil, 3 tablespoons of minced garlic, which is probably more than that because I like a lot of garlic. So I've got that in there. I've got rosemary, thyme, salt, pepper. And then I also used, my recipe called for some apple cider vinegar. I didn't have that on hand, but what I did have was Homestead Gourmet's hot honey cider vinegar as a substitution. Got this at Self-Reliance Festival. It smells really good. So I think the honey is going to be a nice little touch to it. And I just mixed it all up with my handy dandy wooden spoon. And it's been sitting out room temperature. I didn't put it back in the fridge for about, like I said, an hour and a half. And that's, you can see, this is what I've got.
Yeah.
So,
on the elegant cutting of the heart, that is the 4th cow's heart I've cut. That was the first time it was ever elegant. So usually it's just like, where does this chamber go? And I was like, wait, if you follow this chamber first, then it's easier. But it took me 4 to figure that out.
Full disclosure, I have never cooked, nor have I ever eaten beef heart. So this is going to be an entirely new experience for me all the way around.
So,
but I was really excited once I started cutting it up because I realized once I started cutting it up, it looks like steak.
Yeah.
And when you look at it from the outside and you see this heart, it's kind of off-putting a little bit. Yeah. But once I started cutting it up, I was like, all right, okay, I get it. All right.
Well, off-putting is this thing.
Yeah. Tongue is the same. It looks like a tongue when you first start. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I've got my skillet heating up, and I'm going to. I put a little bit of lard and bacon grease in mine just to get it heated up.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw it in there.
Okay. How long are you going to cook it for?
Just maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. What do you think? Again, I've never cooked it before, so I want it to be medium rare because that's the way we like stuff.
If I have like 1/2-inch strips, I do 30 seconds a side if I can do the side, but it looks like yours is going to be more like a saute thing because it's chunks, right?
Definitely.
Okay, try it, pull them out, let it rest for a little while and see if it's like you can cut one open if you want to look first and then try it.
Okay, I like that idea.
Let's do that. It's hardcore heart day.
Hardcore. Baptism by fire around here.
Yeah. Well, I washed my hands for the 970th time today.
Hey, turn that down just a hair, though.
Mine just came out of the vacuum sealer.
Let's find my little comment.
Also, Nighthawk got my fire going and then left. So this is a beautiful salt container that Chef Brett made because he's a wood turner too. I really like it. Yeah, and then you don't want to use a metal spoon all the time in your salt containers or they corrode because it's salt. So I got this little spoon on Amazon. This is how I grind my pepper. This is a Turkish coffee grinder. And the pepper, it's all metal parts. I don't love it as much as I love my first one because this comes off. So I may figure that out at some point. I may look for another one. This is garlic powder. from the Asian market because I didn't grow enough garlic to make my own garlic powder this year, which I usually have 100% garlic independence, but not this year. And then, oh, this is mushroom oyster sauce. So this is actually not mushroom sauce. It's mushroom oyster sauce, which means, what are the ingredients? There's probably some soy in there, which will be okay for me. It's got water. It's got a little bit of sugar, salt, oysters, mushroom powder, yeast extract, and that's not too bad. It's actually not bad. I forgot because I got this one, this mushroom sauce, and I got a mushroom soy. I forgot that I had done the oil. I like oyster sauce too, so. But it does have sugar in it, and I'm trying to not be eating sugar right now, so that's going to be a fail on my part. Anyway, so then while that's marinating, I'm just going to clean my dishes. How's it going, Dawn?
It's going really good. I've taken off the first few.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let those rest for just a second.
And then look at if they cook the way you want them. You're a medium rare gal, aren't you?
No, well, I like it. I like it almost mooing.
Okay, so you're a raw gal. Perfect.
Oh, this is so good.
Am I right?
I'm amazed.
Yeah, are you gonna like get every heart and cook it now, and everybody else in your family who won't eat it can just saw it off?
Yes. And then, you know, they say the like supports like. I'm gonna have the best heart in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how to cook a heart, and that was my experience with heart too. I was so hesitant to dive in, and then I tasted it, and I was like, "This is like just really good lean beef." Yeah. Here, let me make you primary. I do this. Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, there we go. Woohoo!
Yeah. Look at that.
Can't decide which way to turn. There we go.
Yeah. Delicious.
That is so pretty. I'm gonna cut it. Hold on, before you take that off, I'm gonna cut it.
Yeah. I'll just keep cleaning my dishes.
Show the inside.
Yeah. We should get a producer for this show who can like move the camera so our hands aren't all messy trying to move the cameras. Like we can do the controls on
You
screen.
see how it's nice and red on the inside?
Yeah.
And then
Perfect.
It did turn out really, really good. I'm so excited for T and Chase to get home and try this.
Yeah. Are you cooking it all right now, or are you gonna wait till they get back so they can have it fresh?
I'm probably gonna wait. I'm just doing. I'm gonna take off what I've got on there.
Yeah.
Call it good.
Awesome. Okay. Looks pretty. I'm gonna go back to two of us.
All right.
Which one of us is doing just the effing recipe?
You can do it.
Okay, you guys ready? We're gonna see if I get it in the first take, and if I don't, I'll just keep going until I get it in one take. And now it's time for just the effing recipe. This is a recipe for beef heart. What you do is you take a whole beef heart and you cut it out after shaving the silver skin and extra fat off the outside, and you cut the chambers open so the meat lies flat. And then the inside part of the heart, you also shave off the very outermost layer so that you just have what looks like meat. Once you've got that done, look at the way the grain is going on the heart and cut 90 degrees to the grain, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick. I prefer 1/2 inch. With that, you'll want to make a marinade of salt, pepper, and spices that you like. It's very good with soy sauce or with a fudge. I'm going to have to start over now. I'm mixing our two recipes. I'll try it again. And now it's, oh wait, I'm going to do a silence first so I can edit it.
Take two.
Take two. And now it's time for just the effing recipe. If you'd like to cook a beef heart, take the whole heart and trim the silver skin and fat off the outside. And then starting with the first chamber, cut it open and shave the fudge. We're going to do it take three. This is why you join the live, guys. I'm not even drinking.
I'm glad it's you and not me, because I'd never be able to roll it off like that.
I usually do pretty well, but
You
like,
do great. Yes.
it's been a long day.
Great.
I'm going to do my recipe, and then I'm going to do your recipe, so I don't try to mix them, because that's what's going on.
Okay.
I'm going to do one, and then the other, even though they're the same thing. And now it's time for just the effing recipe. If you want to cook the beef heart, take the whole heart and shave the silver skin and fat off the outside. And then you're going to want to cut open the chambers so that it lays flat. You'll end up with a couple of pieces of flat heart. Shave the inside skin and extra bits off at that time. Then you're going to look at the way the grain goes and cut at 90 degrees to it. I prefer 1/2 inch, but you can go 1 inch. It just depends on what you feel like. Then you're going to put that in a bowl, and to that, you're going to add about 1/4 cup of some sort of soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce. Then you're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, 1 teaspoon of garlic, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. Stir it up. Let it marinate for 1 hour to 2 hours, and then you're going to heat up a pan with some lard or bacon grease or some other delicious oil that you could actually use to be healthy. And you're going to flash cook it for 30 seconds per side to end up with a nice medium rare. Serve it, let it rest for about 30 seconds, and serve it straight off of the frying pan. You'll love it. I got one of them. Okay,
Good job.
What are the measurements on yours?
Was using apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, so about the same amount?
Yeah, about the same
amount. Did you add sage to yours too?
I did not add sage. Mine was just, mine was thyme and rosemary.
Thyme and rosemary, about a teaspoon?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to do this now. Again, we're going to do the other effing recipe. You guys ready? Okay. And now it's time for just the effing recipe. To use Dawn's recipe for beef heart, what you do is take the whole heart and shave off the silver skin and fat off the outside, and then cut the chambers open so that you have 2 pieces of meat lying flat. If you end up with more than 2 pieces, that's fine too. Then you're going to shave off the skin and extra gristly bits from the inside until you have 2 pieces of clean meat. Look which way the grain's going, and then cut strips at 90 degrees to those grains. Put that in a bowl, and to that add 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Then add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, and 1 teaspoon of thyme. Mix it all up, let it marinate for 1.5 hours, and then cook it for about 1 minute and 30 seconds in a very hot skillet with lard or bacon grease or some other delicious fatty melted goodness. Let it rest for about 30 seconds and then serve. How was that?
Sounded great.
Thank you. Woo! Next time you get to do it one effing recipe. Come on.
I just can't roll it like that, but I'll try.
Well, if you prepare in advance, you probably can roll it like that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Great. Well, this has been fun. I love cooking with a friend. Thanks.
Me too. I've had a blast, and I'm excited to try something new. Like, that's what I'm really excited about, is to get some new things into the repertoire, you know, not the same old stuff all the time, and to not have these cuts go to die in the back of the fridge.
Exactly. Okay, guys, if you like the show, let us know. Give this episode a share. I'll be editing it down and not having 7 versions of effing recipes, but we'll see you next time. I don't know what date it is next month, but just keep your eyes out. I'm sure both Dawn and I will let you know. See you later.
See you guys.